What's up, everybody? TheCajunGaijin is still alive. It's been a long time since I made a video, and I mean, there's a lot of excuses, but there's really no point in making excuses. I've been busy, what can I say? And when I wasn't busy, I was lazy. Oh well. So I'm here now, though, and I've had requests to make a video for why I left Japan. It's an interesting topic, I guess. The short answer is I got a good job offer in America, and I'm here. And I mean, that's basically what it boils down to. A long time ago, I was in retail, and I was taught that when you get that good job offer, you take the good job offer. And that's where it is. It is what it is. That's the short version. If you guys want to hang around, the long version, I'll give that to you as well. So, I liked Japan a lot. I definitely did not dislike Japan, don't get me wrong. I think Japan is a fantastic place. But when you boil it down, it's just another country. It really is. I hate to say that, So for all you guys out there with the rose-colored glasses that want to go live in otaku land, I'm sure you can go out there and chill in Akihabara, or you can go chill in Ipponbashi, and it's going to be fantastic, unlike any anime land you've ever been in, and you're going to love it. But in the end, it's a country with rules and regulations, just like every other country with rules and regulations. And for me, Japan wasn't it wasn't the anime dreamland. It wasn't the otaku paradise. Some people go there for that. I didn't. I always saw Japan as this fantastic place that I read about whenever I was young. I liked samurai. I liked ninjas. I liked the history. I always studied the history when I was young. I liked the culture. And I never experienced any kind of culture shock when I got there. There might have been a point after I was there for a few months where I was like, I looked around me and I was like, holy crap, I'm in Japan. This is amazing. And at that point, that was really cool. I was kind of shocked, but I realized I finally fulfilled, that dream of, like, you always think about it, you watch all the people on YouTube, and you're like, wow, man, I want to go and do that, what they're doing. And at that point, I realized I was doing that thing. But I never had this culture shock where it was like, here in Louisiana, you never take a train, I never took a bus, so I had to just instantaneously teach myself how to do all those things. That was different for me. All the things I had to do in Japan for myself, I had never done here. Plus, having to read Japanese everywhere, that was another level of it. And I didn't really start teaching myself hiragana and katakana until just slightly before going over there. If I'm talking too fast, I apologize. And, I had a thing written out of everything I wanted to say, and I told myself I finally had time for this while I go on this car trip to go visit a friend of mine, and of course I don't have the paperwork with me, so I'm kind of doing this off the cuff. Apologize. But the thing is, I went there because I appreciated the culture. I wanted to take part in the culture. I wanted to see what it was really like. I wanted to enjoy it. And I did. I really enjoyed being there. I enjoyed being part of the culture. I enjoyed spending time there. All that stuff was very enjoyable for me. I enjoyed meeting friends there that I made while I was there. Excuse me. I enjoyed cycling around the country. I cycled between prefectures. I lived in Nara. I cycled up through Kyoto and Osaka and into Shiga and around Lake Biwako. I had a fantastic time doing things like that. I mean, I experienced things that I definitely wouldn't have done if I was here. I definitely wouldn't trade that for anything. But one of the main attractions for me, aside from culture and everything, was the car culture. I like Japanese cars. And I like modifying Japanese cars. I like working on Japanese cars. I like looking at Japanese cars. And to me, some technology that's in Japanese cars, excuse me for a second, is the epitome of tuning. You know, there is some fantastic Italian cars, don't get me wrong. There are some fantastic American cars, but I like Japanese cars. I like Toyota is the epitome of Japanese car tuning, in my opinion. But there are some fantastic Nissans in the world. There are some fantastic Hondas, some fantastic Suzukis, some fantastic Subarus. But that's beside the point. That's neither here nor there. I went to Japan hoping that eventually I would live there long enough where I would go out of my way and I would get myself a Japanese driver's license. I would do all the stuff necessary to drive. And the more research I did, the more things I did, the more I realized that it wasn't worth it. For me, anyway. Oh, Lord. Big old hay bale in the middle of the road. Boy, you know you're in the country when there's hay bales in the middle of the interstate. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with shaken. Shaken is what we in the States call inspection. So here in Louisiana, my car needs to be inspected every 2 years. This cost me $20. In the state of Louisiana, inspection is really a very easy thing to do. It takes me 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, if there's nobody in line. And the inspection is very easy. I drive in, they blow the horn, they make sure there's no tint on my windows, or if there is, it's not very dark. And they make sure my lights work. It's very simple. They don't even check my emissions. And then I leave. I'm happy to go on my way. They tell you to have a nice day. In certain states, it's more difficult, but not here, luckily. I could swap the motor in the car, and it wouldn't be a big deal. They would never know. They would never care. They just don't care. In Japan, it's just a little bit different. When it comes time for your shotgun, if you buy a car, you have, if I am up to date and understanding this correctly, you have 5 years the first time. After that grace period, you do it, and you have 3 years the second time. After that grace period, you have 2 years, and then 2 years for the rest of the time you own the car every 2 years. Depending on your car would be the price of the shotgun. Now let's say you have a K car, because this is the cheapest car to put shotgun on, because it has the smallest motor, because it goes by the size of your motor in your car. It would cost you, if let's say you have an older K car, because I would probably go and buy a used car if I was living in Japan. I wouldn't buy a K car, but that's just for the sake of argument, K car because it's cheap. K cars are the tiny little cars with the 660cc motors that can produce a maximum of 66 horsepower. Those are what Japan's famous for, super small cars. And they would cost probably between $1,500 and $2,000, if I'm not mistaken, roughly, to get a shotgun. So every 2 years, between $1,500 and $2,000. Now there's a point in time where just getting this inspection is more expensive than the car. So you find abandoned cars around Japan. A good example of this is Wasabi Cars. He's a Japanese vlogger on YouTube. You guys should go check him out. Really cool stuff he has all the time. And he'll just film cars that are abandoned in Japan. Really amazing stuff. From new all the way to old. Rusty, nasty cars. And people just abandon them because they don't want to pay shotgun on them anymore. Or for other reasons too. Now, what I would love to have is an old Toyota. 1986 Toyota Mark II. 1984, I mean, sorry. And I would like to take this car and then change the motor in it to a motor from a newer car, which here wouldn't be a problem. Well, the problem is this car doesn't exist in America, the one I want. Now in Japan, if I wanted to shock in this car, it probably cost me between $2,000 and $3,000 in stock form. That's before you modify the suspension, that's before you modify any body panels, that's before you modify anything. Now you can modify the car within reason if it follows the code. If you modify anything too extremely, you have to change it all back to stock before you bring it in for shock-in. If I were to swap the engine, I could possibly get it made legal for shock-in and do all the paperwork necessary for that. Then have the paperwork turned in and pay for it. That might cost me $2,000 to $5,000 on top of what I've already paid for the car and all the work I've done, just to get the paperwork legal so I can drive the car on the street again. It's not worth it. It just isn't worth it. When I realized this, that while Japan is what I thought the motherland of amazing cars, it is not the motherland of car tuners. People do things and they get away with it, but not legally. If that makes any sense. That's why you see so many extreme builds there, but you'll see a license plate with a red mark through it, because that means the car's not legal to be on the road. It has a temporary license plate. When I realized that Japan is a fantastic place, but it's not really the place for me. Because the old cars, I can just save up my money, buy the old car there, have the old car shipped here, pay the shipping and importation fees, then I can do whatever the hell I want with it once it's here. And it's going to cost me less in the long run to just have the things I want from Japan and have them here. Excuse me. Then I can go visit my friends in Japan from time to time if I want. And just enjoy life here. When it came down to it. I mean, that's the main reason why I wasn't tying myself to Japan anymore, because I realized that the cars weren't going to make me happy. When I realized that Japan wasn't my motherland of car tuning, period. Like, Japan isn't the end-all be-all of car tuning. Like, because I can't do all the things I want and be legal on the street without being harassed by the cops all the time. Because not only am I a gaijin, but I'm also in possession of a car that is fully illegal to be on the road. Because I had long discussions with people about it. And most of the people I had discussions with, they just looked at me like, why would you want to do that anyway? That's not normal. And I mean, I guess I can see that point, but I mean, it's not the mindset that a person would normally take when they modify cars. That wasn't cool. They would modify a car like that. So, yeah, that was that. To take it a step further, away from that, to talk about my job. Now, I haven't talked about this in the past, but I'll talk about it now. I worked for Peppy Kids Club. A lot of people asked. I've never mentioned it before, but I'll mention it now. I worked for Peppy Kids Club. It's in Eikaiwa. Peppy Kids Club, in my opinion, is actually a fantastic company to work for. I think it's a fantastic company to work for. It's a fantastic way to get into the country. If you want to get in, you get a 1-year contract, work for them for a year, and then if you don't like it, go to a different company, because at that point you're in the country and you can do whatever the hell you want. And after a year, they support you to renew your visa, and you can renew your visa for a year, 3 years, up to 5 years now, the way the thing works. And there's nothing to prevent you for asking for the 5-year visa, but not getting it and only getting a 1 year. That's what a friend of mine did recently and got it. I only asked for a 1-year visa and I got my 1-year visa. No problem. My suggestion, if somebody was looking for a company to apply for, apply to Peppy Kids Club. The benefits are, you get an apartment, no key money, no deposit, no nothing. The rent comes directly out of your check. So you don't have to pay the rent. The rent comes out of your check. You don't have to worry about it. You only got to pay for electricity, water, internet, depending on your apartment. Mine came out of my rent. So my internet was included in my rent. The apartments are generally going to be located near train stations within a reasonable distance. It might be up to a kilometer away. Mine was about a kilometer away, 900 meters away from the train station. So I mean, I got a little bit of exercise walking back and forth every day. I was in a Leo Palace. Wasn't the greatest place in the world. Would I choose to live in a Leo Palace again? Probably not. Was my rent really cheap? Not really. Should it have been cheaper? Probably so. Was the company making money off my rent? Probably so. But they also didn't charge me any key money, and they set me up with an apartment. Your boss sets you up the day you come in with a bank account. They can help you get set up with all kind of stuff. My boss was incredibly helpful. If I ever had a problem, she helped me out. I mean, I can't stress enough how helpful the company was in all aspects, from the boss, like the boss, all the way down to my boss. Now, what I would say about this company is that your boss makes all the difference, like your direct boss, because your boss is who you have dealings with every day. Your boss is who makes your schedule. I mean, your boss, I say your boss, like your performance supervisor, is the person who takes care of you on a daily basis. And they will be the ones who, the buck stops at them and then goes on. So if you want to make sure everything, how can I say that? If you please your boss, you're going to have an easy job. They're the ones that are going to review you. They're the ones that are going to take care of you. They're the ones that are going to help you. But if you get along with your boss, your life is going to be jolly. If you don't get along with your boss, you're not going to have a good time. I have heard that there are some areas that don't have good performance supervisors. So I mean, I guess it's kind of a luck of the draw, I've been told that you can't choose where you go. I asked specifically not to live in Osaka, not to live in Tokyo. Technically, there are no schools in Osaka proper, and there are no schools in Tokyo proper. I ended up living in Nara and having a school in Osaka. So I had pretty much lived exactly where I asked not to live. I'm gonna be honest though, Nara wasn't that bad, and neither was Osaka. I ended up in Osaka at least once a week doing something. So I had a pretty good time. I could have done a lot of traveling. I didn't do as much traveling as I should have. I didn't do as much traveling as I could have, but I ended up saving a lot of money. I came home with as much money as I brought, plus I had bought myself 2 expensive bicycles, and I did bring both of them home. So actually I came home with quite a bit of money. I could have spent a lot of that money on traveling, and I know people who did, but I didn't. But I had a good time. Made a lot of friends. You do travel a lot, so you do spend a lot of time on the train. There are times where you might be in a classroom. You're only supposed to work about 5.5 hours a day. That doesn't include the time on the train, of course. But there are times where you might only have 2 classes or 1 class in a day. So you might only end up working 1 hour or 2 hours in a day, and that's a full work day. You don't get docked pay because you didn't work 5.5 hours. You still get a full paycheck. Even if in a 1 week you only work 20 hours. So that's the benefit of a job like this versus an Eikai one. You might only work 25-hour weeks as opposed to every week having to work 40 hours, plus having to sit in the school office waiting for the school to be over, even though you're not actually doing anything, you're just twiddling your thumbs. That's my takeaway from it, is that it's better than working at a ALT position for that reason. The downside is that you have these office days, which can be fantastic or they can be hell. On the office days, you spend 5.5 hours sitting in your office doing paperwork or preparing for classes. If you take advantage of them properly, you're going to be preparing for classes, cleaning the school, just tidying it up a bit, communicating communicating with your Japanese teacher who teaches opposite from you, doing your paperwork that you have for the month, or doing, making lesson plans, or preparing games and stuff, which I would think you would be doing, preparing games for your classes to make the next time you go to class easier. But I mean, once you get good at it, if you taught for multiple years, or you taught the same classes over and over, in 1 month, you teach the same class. Like, you teach a class once, and then the class doesn't change again for the rest of that like 4-week period. So if you teach the same class multiple times, for the most part, you get good at it, and then it's kind of repetition for you, unless you know that you need to change games in that particular class or set of classes. You might have a class that one set of students don't work like another set. So once you learn your students, it gets better. Like, you only see each student once a month usually, unless they come for 2 classes. So after 3 or 4 months on the job, 6 months at the most, you really start to learn the students. If you communicate well with the students, if you talk to the students, if you have a good time with the students, the job is really, really rewarding. If you like kids. Oh, I guess I should have prefaced this whole thing with, do you like kids? If you like kids, this is a fantastic job. If you don't like kids, I wouldn't apply to the job. I mean, I really have fun with kids. I had a great time. A lot of my kids had a lot of fun with kids. Some of them had terrible attitudes, and they were still funny, but some of them had fantastic attitudes and really had a good time. I had some fantastically smart kids. And, I mean, but you really gotta like kids. So, I mean, my youngest kid was probably 18 months. And I mean, they're not speaking a whole lot of Japanese at that point. But it's cool that they're learning 2 different languages at the same time. So their mom or dad's in the room with them, and you're teaching them motor skills, English and Japanese all at the same time. And I had my oldest kid, I think, was 19, and she was a really smart girl, fantastic student. We had a great time together too. So I don't know, it's a really rewarding job. I think it was fantastic. I would recommend it to anybody who had, like, they were on the fence. They were like, Peppy Kids Club, I don't know, I heard some bad things. I've never heard anybody say anything good. Well, here you go, here's your good, I guess. So yeah, I mean, I had one school, which I guess anybody could have, that was bad. I mean, you have to be able to work with your Japanese teacher, the one who works opposite of you at the school. She was young, she was inexperienced, and she wasn't a stickler about the rules. I said, look, here's what we'll do. We'll set these rules, and if I enforce them, you need to enforce them too, because if I'm just the one enforcing them, if you don't enforce them, it ain't gonna do no good. And she didn't enforce them. She was just laid back, let the kids do whatever they wanted. So whenever I got there, it was like a jungle, and the kids were just, man, if we don't gotta listen to her, why we gotta listen to you? And so that school quickly fell apart and didn't function very well. So I couldn't take that particular school anymore, and that was one of the reasons that I left, because that school was getting worse and worse, and students who wanted to learn couldn't, because there were other students in the class who had no interest in learning. And it really broke my heart that students who wanted to learn couldn't. So, I could have gone out, I could have found another job, it would have been easy. Could have gone and lived in Osaka, could have stayed living in Nara. But in the end, I got offered a fantastic job here to make more than what I was making there. And it's a career type opportunity, a career move. I can move forward in a career aspect rather than just continuing working a job. And so that's what I chose to do. I chose to come back, start a career. I hope that this has been, roughly 25 minutes of somewhat helpful information. I know this is probably not exactly what you expected to hear. You weren't expecting to hear me say, oh, I left Japan because Japan isn't the car dreamland I thought it was. But that's the honest truth. I mean, on one hand, I came back here for a job opportunity, but also because Japan wasn't the car dreamland I wanted it to be. And of course, I could have done some research here on car laws before I ever went. At the same time, Japan was a learning experience for me that I think doing an ESL teaching job for a year is great for anybody. I mean, I was there for more than a year, but I mean, it's a travel experience that I wouldn't give up. I would do it again, given the opportunity that I could go back in time and say, hey, do you want to do this? I'd be like, yeah, yeah, definitely. Knowing what I know now, I would still do it again. So yeah, that's that. I have so many videos that I need to process and put out. Old videos from when I was there, new videos I want to make. I have been going through a lot lately. A lot of personal things, just a lot of things. And when I get the time, I promise I'll put them up. I just have not had a place. Like, I have terrible lighting in my apartment. My state of mind has just not been very good lately. I have not been in a good place mentally to be able to sit down and do that. Lately I want to just veg out. I just want to sit down on the couch, watch Netflix, some sappy romantic movies or something, and just not think about anything like that. I just want to relax, smoke hookah or something. So I hope you guys can understand that, and hope you guys will enjoy this video. Maybe if you have any questions about Japan, going to, not going to, if you have any questions about Peppy Kids Club, maybe I can answer them. I mean, I'm not going to answer anything too personal or too intimate about Peppy Kids Club, but you know, I just wanted to say that I think they're a good company, and if you were on the fence about applying, I think you should, if you choose to. Yeah, that's really about it. I don't know what else to say, guys. Yeah, I can't say TheCajunGaijin's back, but I hope he's back. I hope I can make some videos. Yeah, I don't know how much of Louisiana you guys can see around me, but I'm currently driving north from Lafayette, and I'm going to visit a friend in Texas. So, yeah. Anyway, have a great one, guys, and I'll